or the 10,954 parishes of Uganda. And when you are having the parish in Agago, business is going on, you are having business going on in Toroko, business is going on in Kanungu, Busia, Kaparabiong, Madiokoro, and Obonji. That is the beauty of the parish development model. Colleagues, as you may further be aware, a lot has been achieved since 1992 when the government of Uganda adopted the decentralization policy, but it should also be known that among others, challenges, most especially to do with poverty, majorly orchestrated by majority of our people and communities who have been living in subsistence agriculture, as well as gaps in service delivery still exist and have continued to undermine socio-economic transformation. So the theme, the biggest contribution, the biggest tenet of the parish development model is for once and for all, plus minus, address the big question of socio-economic transformation. If we involve people at the village, the private sector, civil society organization, the parish political leadership, the technical planning committee at the sub-county, technical planning committee at the district, to be part and parcel of a model to deliver socio-economic transformation, I have no doubt that we have touched the right button. In response to all this, government has developed the parish development model to end the missing link for effective service delivery, improving incomes and welfare of Ugandans at the household level. Service delivery, we are now involving everybody, starting with those at the base, starting those who are the majority, starting those who are near the population, to be part and parcel of the machinery for improving service delivery as we go and look at the 7 pillars of the parish development model. Improving incomes, we have had a lot of interventions, but probably the missing link has been who are the key stakeholders, who are the key actors that are contributing to determining the right prescription, the right doses on issues of improving income. Remember, this is not science, it's not lab technology, it's not medicine, it's not injection. We are talking about issues that affect human beings every day as they grapple to raise income, to deliver financial support to education needs, health needs, and other needs for shelter, clothing, and the rest. And also to improve the welfare of Ugandans at the household level. Because the household level forms the community, community forms the village, village forms the parish, parish forms the sub-county, sub-county forms the district, district forms Uganda. So by going to the parish, involving the people in the village, we are really, again, as said, touching the right button. Therefore, PDM is a complete extension of the whole of government approach to development. This is on account of the parish being the lowest administrative and operational hub for delivering services closer to the people and hence foster local economic development. The PDM overall goal is to increase the effectiveness of the interaction between the government and its people. People who talk English, people who are on web, people who are on Zoom, people who are in Kampala are now going to talk to the people of Uganda in the parishes of Nakapiripiriti, of Karenga, of Maracha, of Bulisa, Sembabure, and Chisoro. This is the only now link that we are going to have, which is Rio, and indeed for Rio, where we are talking the people on development. The PDM overall goal I have already mentioned is going to increase this interaction in order to accelerate the realization of government's long-term goal of socio-economic transformation. As we look at challenges and other things, the key issue is we are now touching a button on socio-economic transformation. Members and listeners, let me just touch quickly on pillars of the parish development model to prove that it's so inclusive and it's talking about the key major centers of connectivity by government and population. The first pillar is production, storage, processing, and marketing, which is named chain development. Every time, whatever we have done, we have invested in any of these separately. This time around, we are saying that under PDM, we shall invest right from production. That means inputs, it means extension, it means technical guidance. We shall go to storage, or service handling, storage. We shall go to processing, we shall go to marketing. And this we shall need all actors, and we are bringing them all down to the parish. We are bringing agriculture, they will come and bring their contribution to the parish of Uganda. We are bringing trade, private sector foundation, and all agencies that are involved in supporting the population of Uganda, but now we're going to do it at the parish level. The second pillar is infrastructure and economic services, roads, water points, and all infrastructures required to support production and other economic services. The third one is financial inclusion, which of course covers the parish revolving credit that will be given to households through the parish development committees to access these resources, affordable credit, revolving credit, to finance their investments that can lead them to socio-economic transformation. The fourth pillar is social services. We're going to go into education, technical education. We're going to go to health service delivery, water for production, and all services of government are also going to be addressed under the parish development model. The fifth one is mindset change. Mindset change is very, very critical here, because when we're asking ourselves what went wrong or what did not go right, I think one of the things which did not go right is that we never emphasized mindset change for people to appreciate development efforts, to contextualize the purpose, and put in place a monitoring and evaluation framework, put in place feedback mechanisms to influence policy review and policy development, so that more policies are made to address this big subject of socio-economic transformation. So we are now going to handle mindset change and make sure that all the people of Uganda using the parish have a clear mind of where we are going, where we are, and where we are coming from. The sixth pillar is the parish-based management information system. It has come to our realization that one of the things did not come out the way we wanted, notwithstanding the commitment, notwithstanding the design program, was because we did not have an information system that informed project designs, project implementation modalities, choice of investment, and this time around, we're going to have a parish-based management information system. We're already going to buy tablets for parish chiefs. We're going to buy computers and put them at the sub-counties. We're going to train the parish chiefs and train the PDCs and train the county technical staff to make sure that they can input information for every parish in Uganda and be able to inform all stakeholders, government, civil society, NGOs, parliament, so that whenever we are deliberating on matters of intervention for socio-economic transformation, we have the right information we are using from the parish level, from the sub-county. And the one is governance. We are going to put in place governance systems, two of which are to make sure that every parish in Uganda is going to have a substantive parish chief. Some years back, we had improved, or we have stepped up the qualifications of the parish chief. From that time, it was U7. We now put it at U5, which is a diploma. And the understanding is that the diploma holder can be able to internalize policy, to disseminate policy, to correct feedback, so that policy development can be both responsive and appropriate. But actually, in the ultimate end, our visionary thinking is that the parish chiefs should also be graduates. And I'm very convinced about that one, but I know that in the short term, you cannot raise wage for that kind of level. Our other long-term or medium-term thinking is that around the parish, there must be some other auxiliary support professional staff. We are looking at one like the commercial office to be decentralized up to the parish level or probably at the sub-county level. Now, we are going to recruit all these parish chiefs, and we already have the wage. It's already provided for by government. It was approved. And also, we are going, and I'm happy that Agago has started to put in place the parish development committees at every parish. Now, I want just quickly touch on the question that our LOG is prepared for its implementation. You have already had a presentation from the officer from Agago. I think he has already answered my positive position that they are ready as long as we do what it takes to support them to be able to implement the parish development model. But what I want to mention is that local governments are very much prepared for the task because PDM is not a completely new idea. As you're already aware, local governments have in place implementation, service delivery mechanisms, among other things. They have got structures already in motion, implementing service delivery. We are therefore not reinventing the wheel. Where structures are inadequate, efforts by the ministry and respective LOGs are already underway and have to be filled and supported for the task. We are also going to work with Parliament. Parliament has a very big role to support policies, to approve requests that are going to help us support the parish development model. Also, I must mention that in the Local Government Act, Section 95, 96, and 97 compels government ministries, including Ministry of Local Government, to coordinate, to provide technical support, to offer guidance, to establish national minimum standards. And therefore, if all these are done by these actors, there is no reason why local governments cannot use this existing structure to be able to implement the parish development model. So because this has been going on, what they have been lacking is a clear policy. What they have been lacking is clear literature. What they have been lacking is clear stakeholders who are now ready. What has been lacking is commitment at all levels, political, technical, as challenged by a number of factors. Now, the parish development model is going to address these challenges and free and unlock all these agencies of government, all agencies of the state, all technical organs and departments and committees of council at district and sub-county level. We'll unlock the parish chiefs. We'll unlock the community development officers by putting them in place, giving them the right literature, giving them the right policy guidance. And once this is done, I have every reason to tell this forum that local governments are ready. All they need is us who are designing this program, who are responsible for a number of mandates and responsibilities, to now prepare the right doses, timely doses, and be able to support local governments. And I am sure local governments will no doubt deliver the parish development model. Since I am not the only speaker, I want to stop there and thank you for listening to me and inform you that we are available as a ministry. We have already issued put-outs in terms of literature. We have developed parish development model in 11 local languages. They are running on radio since July. We are holding sectoral meetings, and our doors are open for anybody who wants to have any additional design information on the parish development model to be able to give you this information so that we become stronger, focused, committed, determined to deliver the parish development model. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, PS. And that commitment has been demonstrated by your participation in this very important discussion. But I also love the strength and enthusiasm with which you discuss this topic. I think it energizes all of us that are here on this virtual dialogue. I'd like to request that you don't go too far because it seems like many of the questions are going to come in your direction. I'd like to let everybody know that we've started to record this meeting, and at the top of your screen you should see this meeting is being recorded. By joining, you are giving consent for the meeting to be recorded. So some kind of vicarious or implied consent on your part, and if for some reason you do not agree, unfortunately, yes, we will miss your views, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that now we are recording. P.S. Before you you mute, just two things before we get into the panel discussion. Usually the design is good. Our problem has always come at the implementation. And then the second thing is we have heard from Mr. Bongomin that the trainings that they have received as local governments thus far, there could be some that have been government supported, but he emphasized that they had been donor supported, you know. So commitment on, you know, actually training the people who will be implementing in order that we have a good program. Is government actually doing that? And after you've responded to that, then we can I can introduce the panel and we can have the panel discussion. Mr. Kumumia? Kumumanya, I beg your pardon.
On the first one, I've already mentioned that the parish development model has come in to address what was always implementation challenges of design the program. We think the design was right, but of course we accept feedback and we are ready to keep improving and changing the designs for success, because our mission is success. But as we give you all the literature, please give us information where you want us to improve, then we shall add it, because for us the ultimate aim is not what we are doing now, is not where we are now, but where we are going. So it's okay. So sorry, I got a disruption. You know, that's the problem with these things when you're in office. Now, then the design itself was to address the challenges, the weaknesses that always affect good policies that have implementation challenges. Now, on the second one, you have heard that the program was approved to start July 2021. Of course, July found us in lockdown, but otherwise, among the pillars, mindset change will involve a lot of capacity building, information sharing, and creation of awareness. Governance and administration will also involve that. So there's no cause for alarm. It is just because of the lockdown. But once the lockdown is directed in a way that gives room for more information and more awareness, we are ready to go. That's why I mentioned that using the media, we are already all out explaining the model. We are already on radios, and very soon we are going on televisions. So we will do what it takes through the pillars to make sure that we have built enough capacity, we have carried out enough training. We are also preparing 3 sets of guidelines or documents right now. We are actually going to release the guidelines which we have been sharing now as an official document. We're going to release an M&E result matrix framework. We are also going to release the manual for the parish revolving credit. So we are good to go. This is just July, but otherwise, I agree with that observation, but we will make sure that we do what it takes to build the base for an effective implementation of the program. And we shall be working with all stakeholders, and I must commend the development partners who have supported the region in a number of these trainings that I had the official from Ogago explaining, and I was very, very excited. I must thank Ogago for the really how far they have gone in receiving, adopting, and trying to operationalize the parish development model.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumumanya. And like I said, please stay close because it seems like many of the comments are going to come your direction. I'd like now to introduce very quickly the panel. On the panel, we have Dr. Fred Muhumuza, who is an economist, and he had a stint at the Ministry of Finance where he did advise the minister. We have, or we should have, Honorable Judith Franca Akello. I don't know if she's on, but she's a former member of parliament for Agago district. We have Mr. Rubankene Patrick. He's a budget specialist with the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group. And our final panelist is Mr. Bongomin Richard Akal, who we heard from earlier on. He is a Gago district planner. I'd like to start with Dr. Muhumuza. And even as I go over to the panel, I'd like to encourage us to continue putting our questions in the chat room. And for the panelists, if you're able to respond to any question that is in the chat room, please type your answer there, and everybody can read it. Again, I'm doing this because we are pressed for time, but let's try and get as much as possible out of our panelists in this very short time. Dr. Muhumuza, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, Gabriel?
Yes, I can hear you. Dr. Muhumuza, being the economist that's logged in, we're doing all this, one, to create wealth, and for, a socio-economic transformation of Uganda. Can you just locate, everything we're doing under the parish model and how exactly it's going to push us in that direction where, other models didn't seem to get it?
Yes, thank you, Gabriel. And I really want to appreciate that I'm coming in after the PS, who has ably put out there what the parish development model is about. At least I'm very confident that in safe hands, given his high level of appreciation and his position as PS. As you've said, one of the concerns we've had is for people to think that the parish development model is a peer of other programs like youth livelihood program. You don't know what I've heard people talk about the WEP, and people are comparing it, saying there have been other similar. Now, this is not a program in the category of those. As the PS has ably put it, it is a contribution to complete the decentralization agenda. The business we began in 1992, I was still a young boy at university. We know how this was meant to deliver, all the way down to the sub-counties and to the parishes and to the villages. But somehow the process has stopped, first of all at the sub-county, but also they became counties, they became districts, and the politics seemed to carry the day. Now, this is an effort of the technical side of government, the mainstream government. How do we improve service delivery without local government? Because local government was about service delivery. But the very, very pillar that was supposed to take us there was kind of ignored and we have not implemented in it. So the first message that people should carry is this is not a peer of the other projects that we have known. And there are people who have said, why didn't we pilot? The piloting of decentralization happened 30 years ago. So this is not a time to get back into piloting. This is the time to actually complete the unfinished business. And as I've said, the pillars are very clear. You don't pilot the delivery of health services. The pilot the delivery of education. You don't pilot the delivery of roads and water. These are things that have been existing, but for one reason or another, there have been some shortfalls. And this model is intended to say, flip the car and look at it from below, because it looks like we've been doing a lot of top-down imagination of problems. Children are not in school. We begin to guess. Maybe they went into gardens. Maybe they got pregnant. But that is our high-level thinking. But if there was a parish chief in this area, he would even know before the child drops out. For 1 week, he would be able to go and check on what is happening to these children who are not in school. But also that's the other aspect of mindset change. And talking about the design, one of the things we may be thinking of is broaden it beyond mindset change. It is community mobilization. Really parents to know I have a duty towards these children being in school, whether they are my own children or not. The parents have a duty to go to the school and check whether the teacher government paid there. Development model, and pillar 7 is very, very central. The last pillar, it may appear last, but actually by the look of things, it is the first to be rolled out. Governance and administration. The PS will tell you over 5,000 parishes don't even have a parish chief. Now, how do you improve service delivery when the core managers of government programs at the parish are not in place? You have a number, hundreds of town councils and sub-counties, which are not even operational. But here we are putting nice slogans on our budget. This budget is towards improving service delivery. And you go to the ministries and ask, why haven't we invested in operations these administrative structures. We don't know. Why haven't you recruited these staff that are needed? Now, we cannot improve household incomes without these structures of government. So I want that to be very clear that this is not for pilot. This is not another program like the others. This is really taking government. Then we can test out whether all our policies are right in the first place. Because household income improvement will require provision of planting materials. But if you provide them and their extension staff, then the seed will be planted and farmers have nobody to guide them. But how do we put staff in the district? It's not education. They belong to the local governments. The community development officers, the district commercial officer belong to the local governments. But you'll find central government agencies saying, these are my staff, but they have not even been recruited. So we are trying to resolve all those kinds of things. And I believe once government puts its act together, household incomes will rise even without inputs from government. Because as I conclude, NADS literally provides 15% of the input requirement in this country. So there is 85% of farmers out there, commercial and non-commercial, who are finding their way to get planting material. But what they can't, majority of them, find for themselves is an extension staff, is really regulation. Who is going to regulate the inputs I'm buying? Who is going to regulate the market? Culvert that separates us from the market and the main road. Otherwise, UNRA will be saying, me, I have the tarmac roads all over. But the culvert standing between 100 households and that main road. Who is going to fix it? It's a local government facility. It's a local government function. So these are the kinds of things we're trying to resolve. And I want to believe once the parish model is rolled out, a lot of other government boxes will fall into their respective places. Maybe I'll come back later. But for now, I think that's the argument. And I really want to appreciate the PA presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muhumuza. And I think you decided to prove to us that you cannot pilot, infrastructure development by having this meeting on the road, by showing, yes, the infrastructure is there, so no need to pilot it. Dr. Muhumuza, thank you for joining us, even if you're not seated in office. And please continue to listen in, because there will be a number of areas where we would want you to chip in. I'd like to go to Mr. Rubankene, who is a representative on the panel of civil society. And if you could start by locating where civil society can come in, because often civil society is looked at as bringing down government efforts, criticizing. So let's start on a positive point on where civil society can come in to strengthen this model, its implementation, because the decision has already been made that this is the model that's going to be used.
Thank you, Gabriel, and thank you, the PS and the rest of the panel and the participants today. I must say that from the presentation from the PS Minister of Local Government, it really made it clear what the parish development model is all about and what are the key 7 pillars that we should be looking forward to. From the civil society perspective, yes, we must say we are grateful for this model, because this model is now showing us a true policy shift. We are now going to the actual implementation of the bottom-up approach, because in most cases, we had the structures in place aligned with the decentralization policy, but the actual implementation of this had not been achieved fully. So as civil society organizations, we need to look through and reflect what are the key entry points that we need to look at so that we can positively contribute towards the achievement of the parish development model, specifically in light of the 7 key pillars. One key entry point is that CSOs have been given representation in the proposed parish development committees. So that means government has acknowledged that civil society organizations play a key role. And as such, we have a slot of 2 representatives in all the 10,594 parishes. So if we are to multiply that, that really shows that we really have a very huge space that we can influence policy right from the parishes. 2, the PS mentioned that the parish development model is not unique. Yes, it's something that has being done before. If you look at our planning and budgeting processes, ideally the priority setting needs to be done right from the parish. We have the parish development committees that are supposed to gather the priority needs of the citizens and their community members and submit to the sub-counties, who later on call for the budget conferences and put these needs and priorities together, which are later on submitted to the district. However, there's been a big gap in this. Most of the parishes that we have in this country don't have parish development committees. And as such, they were not even holding the parish development committee meetings where they're supposed to pick up the priority needs to be discussed and shared with the sub-county and the district. So now what the parish development committee now brings again, because now we are revitalizing the parishes, recruiting the parish chiefs, it again now opens another window for the civil society organizations to participate in the parish priority setting. As such, we shall be in position to influence policy and ensure that the needs of the communities are catered for in the parish development reports. Thirdly, CSOs also have a very key point here, their entry point. We need to mobilize ourselves and as well mobilize the community to participate in some of the pillars of the parish development model. For example, when you look at pillar 1, which is focused on production, we have the area-based commodity development, where we have a total of 18 initially, but I think that it has now been downsized to around 14 priority commodities, which are critical. And these commodities has been mapped according to the different zones in this country. So as CSOs, we need to now have this entry point whereby we mobilize our communities so that they actively participate and form these groups and grow these prioritized commodities that government has aimed to uplift our community members. And finally, Gabriel, where we really see CSO's participation here is, again, monitoring service delivery. The parish development model is basically aimed at improving service delivery, and you are looking at the parish as the last unit of planning. So now, in this model, we are seeing money being channeled straight to the parishes. As such, CSOs are mandated to monitor these monies that will be received by the respective parishes. You want to see, is this money being put to good use? Is it delivering the services that it has been promised? Because if we unpack this model, you will see the model is looking at setting up a primary school in a parish, a health center too in a parish. So you want to see that this money that government is going to send to the parish is going to deliver on what is intended to do. So as civil society organizations, we need to really ensure that we build much interest and fully embrace this parish development model if we are going to see the change we desire in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Is Honorable Franca logged in? Honorable Franca? Okay, since I don't have Honorable Franca, Patrick, I'm coming back to you before I bring Mr. Bongomin back in. Patrick, it's good that you've mentioned one or two gaps, but you know, since civil society has been, you know, implementing on the ground, what are some of the other gaps that you think government should be aware of? And like the PS said, the PS has actually opened the door and said, you know, tell us where we can make this design better. So what are some of the gaps that have been identified and, you know, government should fix in order for this model to be successful?
Okay, thank you, Gabriel. In terms of the gaps that would want government to fix if this model is really to be successful, one, we need to create awareness about the parish development model, because as it stands, people they're confusing this parish development model with other empowerment models that have already been in place. So we need a clear awareness creation strategy right from the Ministry of Local Government that reaches up to the district local governments, to the lower local governments and right to the communities, so that we tell the people what the model is all about, what is its purpose, what is its goal and objectives, and what are the targets. For example, the model has a target of ensuring that households get an income of around 630,000 shillings per month. So what does it take to make an household earn such amounts of money in a month? There are certain targets in the model, like ensuring that 80% of Ugandans are in the money economy. We want to shift from 61 to 80. So some of those silent features of the parish development model is not known to the public. And most of us are only centered on some few pillars, like the financial inclusion. When they brought this model out, everyone started rushing. How come you're giving us only 38 million per parish and the rest? So the other pillars that we need a government to focus on when they're creating awareness. Another issue that we want government to look at keenly when they're going to implement this parish development model. As civil society, what we need government to focus on is the first implementation. Yes, we are not going to pilot it, as Mumuza has mentioned, but we want an implementation process which is in a phase where, one, we first focus on recruitment and training of the parish chiefs in the 10,594 parishes. We then constitute the parish development committees and the executives. Because if you remember what the planner of Agago was saying, yes, they're trying to roll it out, but they've already hit a dead end. They don't have enough resources to train the different parish development committees. So if government can put money and ensure this is done in phases, we ensure all the parishes have a substantial parish chief in place. Because I'm aware not all parishes have this. Three, there's need to improve coordination and linkages between the key stakeholders if we want this model to be a success. For example, we don't want to see a situation where the Ministry of Local Government is implementing this model in isolation, where there's no much coordination between the partners, because we have very many stakeholders in this in this model. For example, if you look under the social services pillar, they are proposing that each and every parish should have a health center too. And yet, if you look at what Ministry of Health is proposing, they're phasing out health center twos and they're migrating to health center threes. So now that gives us a policy gap here. When they were designing the parish development model, the Ministry of Local Government consulted with the Ministry of Health to harmonize this position. If you look at under production, there is a proposal to bring out agricultural insurance for farmers. This is a positive which we appreciate. However, there is also need to create, to first enlighten these farmers. How is this agricultural insurance thing going to work? Because not so many of our farmers have been exposed to agricultural insurance. Then we also need to integrate this model with other successful models which have been in place. As civil society organizations, we are models we are running within the communities. Even government has models that are running within the communities and have been successful. A case in point is the Farmers Field School model, which is being implemented by ESAF. This model has been very successful. So if the parish development model can borrow a leaf and go and also incorporate some of the successes of the models which are already being run within our communities and link it up with what they intend to implement, that would be good. We also need government to address the issue of data. We are grateful that one of the pillars is to ensure we gather information, and that task has been given to you both. This will be critical if the parish development model is going to succeed. Because one, we need to know how many villages are there in a given parish, because this is going to impact on some of the implementation of a pillar. For example, the financial inclusion pillar, which is going to create the parish revolving fund. Now, once we don't know how many people are in a given parish, how many villages are in a given parish, because you may find a parish in Karamoja could be having only 3 villages, and yet a parish maybe in Chigezi could be having 10 villages and is densely populated. And yet in the way government sets to give out these funds, each and every parish is going to receive an equal amount of like 30 million shillings. So now you can see the unfairness. There's no equity. So unless we get the right information about each and every parish, because they're not homogeneous, that will guide and make sure that we allocate money based on the number of households in a given parish and the number of villages in a given parish, unlike these proposed pro rata allocations. Also, by gathering data, we get to understand the social needs and requirements of each and every parish, because we want to run away from this top-down approach where you come and say, we are going to put for you a road, and yet the most pressing need for that community may not be a road as such, but could be a school. So that can only be achieved once UBOS does a comprehensive mapping of all the requirement needs for the different parishes. And finally, we need to look at capacity building for the local governments and other stakeholders. When the parish development model approach was brought on board and is now being rolled out this financial year, I know for one that the local government officials are not well conversant with what the parish development model is all about. The lower local governments equally are not well conversant about the parish development model, and other stakeholders, the community, the civil society organizations. So we need to build their capacity so that once they get to understand what the model is all about and what it intends to achieve, I think this model will be a success. And as I close, the model also proposes to create the area-based commodities, the 18 commodities. Now, what government needs to focus on is building and developing the various value chains for these priority products. We don't want to be in a situation where farmers have been grouped to grow, for example, macadamia, avocado, or cocoa, name it. And at the end of the day, we have not created a strong value chain, because you will produce, there's no market, we don't have storage. So all this will frustrate farmers. So emphasis should be in making sure the value chain for these priority products are fully developed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robankene. And I hope civil society has actually, come up with their views, and they can submit these to the ministry, because again, the PS told you we have open doors there. Dr. Muhumuza and the PS, I hope you have heard some of these. We will come to you to respond to some of the issues that have been raised. I'd like to go back to Mr. Bongomin, who had begun on some of the challenges they are already facing as the local governments. Mr. Bongomin, are you there? Mr. Bongomin?
Thank you so much, the moderator. I would like to thank my PS for the insight that he has provided during the time he was opening the meeting. Also want to thank my fellow panelists that they have really given their views on the readiness and implementation of the Paris model. I was discussing the reality, what so far local governments have done in terms of implementing the Paris development model. I started with the milestones, and then I was again entering into the challenges, where I somehow ended. I want to like to continue from there.
And I'd like to request that you very quickly take us through just challenges. Yes,
implementation of the Paris model, Paris development models in local governments. One of the challenges which I was trying to explain is operational challenges of the PDM. As you know, this model actually it will be implemented at Paris level, and the Paris development committees are the responsible committees in terms of implementation and policy to implement these parish development models. But in very many local governments, these parish development committees are not fully constituted. They are not fully constituted because if you look at the guidelines on the composition of the Parish Development Committee, which was issued by the Ministry of General Labor and Social Development, that one has increased the number of the Parish Development Committees from the initial one, 11 members, to nearly now between 20 to 25 members. And in this composition, all chairpersons, LC1s, automatically, they're a member of the Parish Development Committee. So if you have 10 villages, that means you have a representation of LC1 in the composition, one person, 10 members per village. And then the chairperson, LC2, and the executives, they're automatically members of the PDCs. And then the representation of the retired civil servants, and then the civil society working in the parish. So basically, nearly almost all local parishes in the local government, they have not yet updated that composition. They are still using the updated ones. Another challenge we have is the substantive appointed parish chiefs and then assistant community development officers. In most local governments, these positions the biggest percentage are having vacant position of the parish chiefs. The parish chiefs are not there, like in Agago district, out of 117 parishes. We have only 29 substantively appointed parish chiefs. And out of these 29, there are some which are even about to retire. So we have that gap. And I believe here in many local governments, the parish chiefs are not there on the ground, and therefore there is need to urgently recruit the parish chiefs. I am happy in the wage bill of the local governments, central government, means of local government, and means of public service. They have given some money for recruitment of parish chiefs and then assistant community development officers. The challenge would be now that these parish chiefs are the diploma holders. They should have a diploma in public administration. Now, that category of people, there are very few in the country. Assuming that all these parishes, all the local governments, they want to include these parish chiefs, definitely we shall have a deficit somewhere, because you cannot get all those people at diploma level to be appointed parish chiefs. Now, that means there is need for means of public service either to customize or revisit so that we can review the policy so that local government can have the parish chiefs appointed out of the U5, that is diploma in public administration. We also have other challenges, operational challenges, like of recent, government has released funds for parish development model in the first quarter of the cash limit. In my district, we got about 380 million. That is the first disbursement of the Parish Development Model Fund. However, in the first year that was issued, and now we incorporated this money into our approved budget estimate. This money is supposed to be transferred to the parishes, and thereby there is need to open the parish development accounts managed by the parish chiefs and the committee that's parish development. But at the moment, the money is still at the district. We have not seen any guideline in terms of opening accounts of the parish development in the parishes. Now, if we go ahead and open the accounts in the parishes and transfer the money in the parishes, the accounting officer and the parish chiefs are also not there, who, with the possibility of abuse of these funds, even if it remains at the district, there is that abuse, because the initial guideline says the money will be transferred from Ministry of Finance direct to to parish account. But now the money is entering through the district. Maybe the district will transfer to the sub-county, then sub-county will transfer the money to the parishes. So I think there is that problem, which we need to sort it out. The accountant general need to work out quickly to see the arrangement of opening the accounts of the parishes so that the money is safe in the hands of the right beneficiary. There is also this problem of development committees orientation training, which somebody hinted on it. You see, this is a new concept. It being a new concept, people must internalize it and conceptualize it so that they can implement the intervention well. We cannot assume that the Parish Development Committee members are adequately now in position to implement this guideline from the Ministry of Local Government or this intervention. There is a need to train all the members of the Parish Development Committees, to train the parish chiefs in bookkeeping and issues to do with the implementation of this fund, so that we don't regret. Then there are also challenges, still operations of the PDM at the lower local government, at the government, local district government. There's this rationalization of service delivery work plans of the local government, NGOs, and development partners at the parish level in line with strategies have not been done by many local governments due to unclear coordination framework and lack of funds among the actors. In the model, these governments and civil societies and development partners need to have the harmonized work plan in terms of integrating the parish models, so that implementation is done in a coordinated manner. So now, as we move, even the budget that we are sending to the parishes, except with the revolving fund, which is a little bit clear, this alignment has not yet been done at parish level. And then we need
Mr. Bongomin, if I may ask,
do the realignment of the budget.
Mr. Bongomin, if I may ask, just very briefly, the 300 million shillings that you have received, how have you used it, or how is it being used? Okay, he probably is not able to hear me. Dear participants, we actually have run out of time. Unfortunately, our start time was a bit delayed and were thrown off balance. So I'd like to request just 15 minutes of your time so that we can respond to some of the questions that have come in. And I'd like to ask the panelists to take note of these questions. I'm just going to go through some of them very quickly. It's not possible to go to all the questions, and that's why I had asked that we actually use the chat option to respond to the questions that have come through. Jessica says the implementation, Anena says the implementation of this program should ensure gender equity and equality. We have a comment here from Patrick Abal who says between 2005 and 2010, UNDP implemented the Millennium Village Project with similar objectives in selected parishes in Isinjiro, Kaberamaido, and I think a few Western Uganda districts. Did the team make reference to this report? And basically other, reports where something similar to this model has been implemented. Frederick Edmos says marketing agricultural products, NADS and Operation Wealth Creation suffered because of lack of market. What mechanism will the government use to create market for this project? And I think this was also raised by Rubankene. Lydia Nyakato says UBOS needs to go on the ground and see what is really happening in the community if it's to get substantial data. And I think this just emphasizes the need for data and the use of data to inform our decision making. Dorothy says, how inclusive will the implementation be considering gender, most vulnerable community members who are not able to join a circle, the disabled, the orphans, the children, and those that are not literate? How flexible will the selection criteria be to accommodate the different opinions and needs? The available funds per parish, about 30 million shillings. Does this include administrative costs? Eddie says, with UBOS recently released data which was, he says, which was fake, how do we trust such information? Tina, I really hope we can get the answer from, okay, let's see if we can go to find Diana's question. Let me just read Joanita's from Siatini, Uganda. She says, PDM is a good strategy and would address the financial challenges of households. However, when it comes to accessibility of these funds, it's a complex process that frustrates the beneficiaries. So there is need to improve accessibility of these funds in the financial inclusion pillar. The stages a beneficiary has to go through to qualify are many, and the offices to authorize documents are also many. Making the process lengthy. This makes the process lengthy. Some of these criteria should be reviewed for PDM to be a success. I'll just read one more from Alosius, who says, Pillar 1 of production, how is the model going to support the town parish beyond agriculture who have been organized? Unfortunately, I did not understand the last part of that question. There are many more questions, and I hope that the organizers can document these questions. I know that our panelists will be glad to respond to these questions in writing. So if I may start by going to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Local Governments, Mr. Kumumanya, to respond to those that he's able to, and then I'll go to Dr. Fred Muhumuza.
Yeah, yes, thank you very much, moderator. On the question of creation of awareness, we know it. First and foremost, that's why there is a pillar on mindset change. I already told you very clear that there will be a lot of awareness. In fact, if it was not for the lockdown, we have already been across the whole country creating awareness on the literature which is available. But I've said we are finalizing other literatures, and I mentioned 3, the guidelines, the result framework matrix, and also the parish revolving credit manual. So that's when we are doing it. I've already mentioned that we issued out a pull out, very detailed, and we have copies which we are giving anyone who did not see them on that date when it was in the new vision. We are on radio, 11 local languages, and we are going to the TV, but we'll do all it takes to do the most responsive and appropriate awareness and training to the people to make sure PDM succeeds. Question of phased implementation, Dr. Muhumuza mentioned it. We can't phase. You see, what you need to appreciate is that we are not saying something new. When you look at the functions of a sub-county, division, municipal executive committee, you'll find that actually what we are emphasizing in the PDM has already been there as part of their functions. For example, I'll just quickly run through 3. One of the functions of those executive committees across the 2,027 LC3 units in the country is to initiate, encourage, support, and participate in self-help projects, mobilize people, material, and technical assistance in relation to self-help projects. Only that this had now not become in reality. It was just in the books of laws. The other one is serve as the communication channel between the government, district council, and the people in the area. We are going now to put blood into that one. The third one is to generally monitor, supervise projects and other activities undertaken by the government, local government, and non-governmental organizations in their areas. Those are executive committees in the 2,027 units. You got the functions of the parish chiefs, parish and village executive committees. One of them is initiate, encourage, support, and participate in self-help projects. So in other words, these parish executive committees we are talking about already had this function actually in the law. What was lacking was the policy, was the emphasis, was the commitment and resources to do it. Serves as communication. When you go to the parish chief and sub-county chief and you are looking for their function, one of them is collect data and keep records. The other one is to assist the council in planning, budgeting, and budget implementation. The third one is supervise or monitor the implementation of socio-economic development project. What I'm trying to do, like Dr. Muhumuza said, we can't phase because we are talking about real things. So all we have to do is how do we concurrently, but in a step-by-step manner, deal with everything. For example, one of our commitments is that between July and September, we shall recruit all parish chiefs. We have the budget, we have the service commissions, we have the candidates, we have the guidance, we have everything. And we are now on air telling everybody. And already our districts are already doing it. For your information, panelists and members, the policy to improve, to step up qualifications of parish chiefs was approved about 3 years ago. One of the options was to to retire them on abolishing of office, which is one of the criteria. But we gave it 3 years to 4 or to 5 to allow them study. So it's not true that we don't have people who are qualified with diplomas. In fact, most of the parish chiefs who were S6 were given grace period to study, and many of them have gone to school. So we are not worried not to have really the 9,954, 10,594 diploma holders in Uganda. They are there, we shall get them. The problem has been the wage bill. So really my appeal is, let's not look at phasing. We cannot experiment, phase real issues which deal with society every day. Coordination and linkages, I totally agree. We are going to have a very clear structure. When you see our guidelines, there is a policy committee, there are working groups, there are so many operational mechanisms, and we really welcome any additional idea on the best way to coordinate. On the question of policies like health center too, to ask the question is, do we need a health facility at the parish level or not? If you tell me you don't need it, then there I would agree that we did not talk to Minister of Health. But if we need it, then we shall review the policy, incorporate that position. By the way, it was not that they were abolishing the health center, too. The idea was to upgrade them to health center 3 to sub the sub-counties. So which means if that one which was upgraded became a health center 3 for the sub-county, that does not mean if we agree that we need to have a health center facility at the parish level, we don't create one. So that's how we should look at it. But the way forward is, if we find that we need these things, for example, do we need agricultural insurance or not? If we need, then we shall review the policy, and then we shall be able to put in place and improve the policy to incorporate that one. On data, I've already mentioned that this had always been the role of sub-county chiefs and the role of parish chiefs. But now we are saying we are going now to do it better. That's why I said that there's going to be a tablet with every parish chief and a computer with every sub-county chief to make sure data is corrected. Then capacity building, I agree, we'll do the capacity building. We should have done it yesterday, but we had challenges. But now Parish Development model is going to help us to do that, we build that capacity. Now, finally, I wanted to mention that, you know, when you look at what was at the Parish Executive Committee, who were the members of that executive committee? They were the Secretary for Production and Environment Protection, but people are not using them. Now we are going to use them, we're going to find them there. There is Secretary for Information, Education and Mobilization, we're going to find them there. Then on equity, gender, or inclusiveness, we are going to have the chairpersons of the special interest groups, rather youth, women, elderly, disabled, are going to be part of the PDC. The vice chairperson of the parish is going to be part of the PDC. And remember, the vice chairperson of the parish is responsible for children affairs. So actually, already in the PDC proposed framework, it's very inclusive and it has everybody. Then the second last is that on the question of challenges ahead, that's why we are there. That's why we have this panel discussion going on. Let us deal with the challenge. We have the capacity, determination, and the energy to deal with challenges. So we don't want to fear that there will be challenges and that we don't move forward. So for challenges ahead, we are there to tackle them. And I want to make an appeal that let's have faith in our systems, in our tools, in our people. You can't say that all the people are wrong, money will be eaten at the parish, it will be eaten at the sub-county. No. You are like saying that society is all bad. For members to listen to me, I normally use this example. even if you are living in the community of your own relatives, at night you close your door. Because even if you have all the relatives around you, maybe somebody can come from the other bad people and disorganize you at night. You have to close your house. You have to protect yourself and make sure that you are safe. So in other words, our job is to put in place systems for the few misguided troops. But I think the majority of the people are good, and these are the people we deal with. These are the people who are on this panel. So I want us to have faith if we want to succeed and make sure that once we have clear guidelines, once we have checks and balances, once we have created awareness and capacity building, I have no doubt that we shall have many challenges not to deal with for implementing the parish development model. So my last word is, let us give it a chance. But let us make recommendations on how to improve the current design as it is. But we should look at the bigger picture. Thank you very much, moderator and listeners.
Thank you very much, PS. And I'd like to encourage us to write our recommendations in the chat, and the team that is doing the technical work will actually take those recommendations. Before I bring Dr. Muhumuza, I'm going to ask 3 people to speak, but very, very briefly. Please make your question as brief as possible. The hands I have seen are of Ben, Otema Joffrey, and the third and final one will be a lady. So once I see a lady's hand up, I will accept them to go. Ben, go first, and then we'll have Joffrey, and then if I see a lady's hand, I will choose her.
Thank you. Actually, Utema Geoffrey would want to use my PC to ask the question.
Okay, let him go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. My name is Otema Geoffrey. I'm the District Commercial Officer of Agago. I'm particularly interested in pillar of financial inclusion. Well aware that 56% of Uganda population use informal services. And you see these people are normally based in rural areas. That is at the parish level. I want to hear from the presenters on how they intend to create synergies between the Parish Revolving Fund and PDM, and then other existing program that is supposed to strengthen financial inclusion in rural areas, like the Myoga, Web, YLP, because all these are aimed at transforming the 68% of the rural poor. That is one key area. The second area is about the digital connectivity. Under financial inclusion pillar, the payment system is supposed to be using a digital platform. I want to know how prepared is our parishes or the local population in terms of internet access. From the data that I have, only 10% of adult Ugandans are able to utilize internet very well for development purposes. So I believe that if we are targeting digital transformation, we need to see how the capacity of our local people will be, especially in accessing revolving fund.
All right.
3.
Unfortunately, we don't have much time, so if you could just conclude with that one.
Of the parish chiefs and then the SCDO, as my colleague also talked about, the district planner. You see, originally, the minimum qualification was diploma. Other district service used not to shortlist people with a degree. So we are suggesting that this time, why not to give opportunity for people who are qualified? Meanwhile, the minimum qualification still remain at what? At diploma level. But when somebody has a degree, it's even much better for delivery. Lastly, is also a sort of a question, but more of a suggestion. If you look at agricultural insurance, which is being proposed under parish model, actually it's also under financial inclusion pillar. Looking at our environment, I don't think it will be very easy to pilot it now, because we have actually realized that agricultural insurance has been a very difficult component to implement. So I don't know what strategies the ministry is going to come with to support the local government, so that as we are going to do risk assessment, and of course the compensation procedures, that also need to be very clear. Otherwise, under financial inclusion pillars, where the district commercial office is going to be heavily involved, we are seeing challenges there.
Okay.
The issue of managing
All right.
insurance, the issue of digital payments.
I think the point has been made. I think the
thank you
point
very
has
much.
been made. I think the point has been made, and seems like you've taken the time for all three that I had given a chance for, and I do not see the hand of a lady. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, I think there's someone called. Is Jacqueline putting her hand up? No. Okay. Well, my view here is not allowing me to see this properly.
It's Grace.
Who? Grace? Asimo, did you say there's someone called Grace?
Yes, Grace Arach has her hands up.
Okay, Grace, please go right ahead and ask a question. And please make it brief.
Yes, thank you, everyone. I have about 3 questions. One is, I've heard about the formation of new groups at the parish, for this parish development model. I don't know why. I would request to get a clarification why new groups has to be formed, because in every community or parish villages where this program is going to be implemented, there are already existing groups. There are no any community or villages, parishes without existing groups. And when we start to come up with a new group, I imagine this is going to bring a lot of, duplication and corruption. And then secondly, we are in a lockdown. How will this Parish development model assure us that the needy people, the grassroots people, will be able to get the information required? Since we are in a lockdown, some people are not even able to afford a mere radio to listen to what is going on. What strategy is going to be put in place to ensure that the true needy people at the grassroots are able to get this information clear and participate? And then the last question is, how unique, I want to emphasize on the issue of uniqueness. How unique is this Parish development model prepared in terms of dealing with corruption?
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to beg your indulgence. We'll just have Dr. Muhumuza respond and the PS to close if Dr. Muhumuza needs out anything. Dr. Muhumuza? And could we just have everybody?
Thank you, Gabriel.
Grace, please mute. Dr. Muhumuza, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriel. I'll take just a few minutes to highlight a number of issues, but this is an initial stage, and I'm glad we are having this consultation just to set a context for further thinking and thought through processes for people. This is not a 2 or 3 year project. This is as the PS put it. It began 30 years ago. It's going to continue for another 30 years and another 30 years. So people talking about 30, or whether it fits, it's 11 million. It's not a one-off. Every year there will be a budget going. That's why we've called evolving fund, because this is the way that the money will be called back. Once the money is assigned to a parish, it remains there forever. So this fund will grow and keep growing and will not end. So the aspect of 11 million and whatever is just a start, and that was because of budget constraints. We had desired to start with 100, but there are budget constraints, but they will not be there forever. So the budgets will continue. I think that should be clear. But also a number of other programs are going to continue. So there are things that are going to come in a phased way. When we are talking about tablets and computers, they may not even be bought this year, because you don't want to buy a tablet and a computer for a parish chief and a sub-county chief, a town clerk who do not exist. So priority, as we have said, this year, this quarter, is to recruit these people and put them into offices. So there are those priorities, and a number of other issues are going to be addressed as we go along the way. As you said, I'm on the road. I'm really overlooking here the Court of Appeal. This is why we're having consultations. If there is anything that is not right at the beginning, there is always an appeal process, which corrects if there are anything. And that's why we're doing this consultation. I'm happy to say that the consultations should not be bound by lockdown. This is what is the mindset change. The way of doing business changes. We are now consulting. What is wrong with the ministry or any government agency doing this kind of meeting? And I am glad the PS has already reached the powers that the consultation on guidelines is going to happen next week. It's going to be on Zoom. But because people believed in allowances, that's why they wanted the consultations to be physical and they travel around. Now, going forward, is really going to change. These are fundamental things. We shall be doing our consultations online and only go in if we must. And I think those are some of the issues. The equity, I think the PS has addressed it. I think there are some interruptions here. Grace hasn't muted.
Grace, could you please unmute? Grace, there are two devices that have Grace. Yes, thank you. Dr. Muhumuza?
Yeah, we are talking about the issue of equity. As I've said, the 11 million is going across pro rata, but later on we shall capture information that will require additional releases that are different, intended to address peculiar circumstances in the parishes and in the different sub-counties. And the parish model does not negate sub-county and the district. We're just referring to it as a parish model. This is the last unit, but it's going to involve strengthening all those in the local government. And let me correct one thing here. And I know the battle for mandates, the battle for resources, but we're not going to listen to this because it has already taken us far. UBOS is not the one going to be collecting data. The data government, that's why we call it Community Management Information System. The PS has been very clear. This is data mandate is to the sub-county chief. Can go in to collect that information for national level analysis. But by the time that is done, the district itself has the right to know how many children in each class. How come we don't want to reach primary living examination to discover that of the 100 children who began, only 40 have sat? That should have been addressed along the way. So we are looking at this district data collection local government, and UBOS will only guide in some areas. Remember, UBOS only deals with households, 10,000 of them to give a national picture. We are talking about vulnerability, which is a dynamic variable. It changes every day. A household which had 2 parents yesterday, COVID can kill all of them in 1 week. Now, when will UBOS ever come back to capture that information? But the local government is available to update its register of the vulnerable within a week. So we are going to empower these systems. And you can see distribution of the money for the vulnerable. We had a problem when people thought Ministry of Gender would collect it. It was the local government function. Going forward, you're not going to hear these kinds of issues where the registers, where the vulnerable, the local governments already have this information. And these are the issues we are trying to have them resolved. As PS said, let's give this a chance because it's going to help us resolve quite a number of other issues. But as I conclude, we can't finish in this short time. I really want to request that the chat information be collected and shared with us, but also additional questions. Let them continue coming. Consultation with the local governments is just beginning next week. Of the local governments and civil society, please continue to send in your information. As I've said, this is not a 3-year project. Send in as much. It will be incorporated in the design, the taste of the pudding, eating. The eating is right where communities live. If there is anything that needs to be appealed, I'm right here at the Court of Appeal. PS, I want to believe, is also ready to receive these comments and they will be addressed that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Muhumuza. And if there's something I've really loved about our discussion today is the openness of the people on the other end to actually receive comments. And I hope that as civil society and other actors, we will actually, use these opportunities to have to make this model work and work very well for Ugandans. I would like to apologize for taking more time than we had said we would. I'd particularly like to apologize to our 2 panelists who will not say anything in closing because I really need to bring this to a close. So we will end with the PS, who will respond to anything that Dr. Muhumuza left, and to just let us know, how we can engage from this point on, and then we'll bring this to a close because I know you have to get to other programs. Mr. Kumumanya, over to you.
Thank you very much. I just want to mention three things. The first one is to thank all members who have given the views, and Dr. Muhumuza and the moderator. For us, this is a plus because we have felt, received, appreciated the thinking of the people. And then I want to make just comments on two things. I think Grace mentioned about how will this area on corruption. Now, there are corruption organs and agencies who are in place. The only contribution of PDM will be now to take them on. Under decentralization, we are trying to build what we call downward accountability, to strengthen systems down to question things. For systems down to be strong and demand for accountability, they must be, one, made aware, awareness creation, which we talked about. They must have participated in these programs. They must own them. They must understand them and question if things are not going right. So the people will now ask and question anybody who is deviating from the plans of the PDM, which is the plans of government, which is the plans of service delivery, which is a plan of socio-economic transformation. That's how we'll deal with those issues of corruption. For example, we shall be using the existing systems. There is one person who has not been used, and this is the councillor. There is a councillor in every village at the sub-county. There is a councillor in every parish at a sub-county. There is a councillor in every sub-county at the district. Now, I just want to share with you in 1 minute some of the functions of these councillors. These councillors who are all over the country, one of the functions is that they must come, pick views of the people, and take them elsewhere. They must appoint time to bring to the people who have elected them what has been discussed at the various levels of leadership. They must take part in communal and development activities in their electoral areas and the district as a whole. But finally, if a person is a member of a local government council at a sub-county and district, the law says he shall, in the discharge of his or her duties, have due regard to the national and district interests and the interests of the people in the electoral area. These people have not been using them. Now we're going to make sure we look for those councillors at Gomborora Town Council, at the district, and tell them this Schedule 2, Regulation 8, Sub-Regulation 2, and tell them, hey, please, you are not doing your job. So one of the ways to address deficiencies is to use existing systems and demand for accountability when we have already been informed. Then the other issue was on lockdown. Lockdown, Dr. Muhumuza mentioned it, but beyond lockdown, for those who can't afford radio, in local government system, we had already put up other modes of communication to people. And this would include something which is called Vizindaro. You have public address system which goes around communicating. All of you know it. There is also putting notices on conspicuous places. We already have that one in our regulations. And what are these ones? Stadiums, where people go to play games, churches, markets, and all these things. So we already have a huge regime of creation of awareness and communication, and we shall use whichever modality, like Dr. Muhumuza said, for those who can do Zoom, we'll do Zoom. For those with radios, we are there. TVs, we are there. Literature in the media print, we are there. So we agree, give us more openings on how we can reach the vulnerable household. I already touched about the issue of equity. You have seen that the women, youth, everybody is involved at PDC. And then under Pillar 7, which is governance and administration. All those weaknesses you are talking about in the sub-county system, technical planning committee, parish chiefs, district technical planning committee, this is the opportunity now. And we hope everybody is listening to us rightly, especially those who have attended, that everybody must fall in line, especially after agreeing that this is the best way to consolidate all government efforts that are aimed at addressing household income, addressing welfare of the people, addressing service delivery, addressing, finally, socio-economic transformation. I thank you very much for this golden opportunity for us to air out our views and also receive your comments. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you very much, PS. Thank you very much, Dr. Fred Muhumuza. Thank you very much, Rubankene Patrick, and thank you very much, Mr. Bongomin. Those are our panelists. But a big thank you to the organizers, the Northern Uganda Civil Society Governance Coalition Consortium, comprising of ARID, Vijana Corps, Cobra, and Action Alliance. Would like to thank you very much for convening us to have this discussion. Would like to request that these questions and recommendations are documented and availed to especially the PS and Dr. Muhumuza, who have already informed us that they are willing to continue to engage, to respond to the concerns, but also to take on board recommendations. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been emphasized that this is not just one of those development programs. This is the way government is going to deliver services to the citizens for the next 30 on 30 years. So it is in our interest that we make this model work, and all of us have a role to play. I hope that each of us will play our role. Again, would like to thank you and apologize for going longer than we had said. And since the PS has closed, would like to bring this to an end. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you for organizing.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, Lydia. Thank you, everyone.
Should we expect some data refund?
Ben, I hope you have had that question from that has been asked in a # tone.
Moderator, which one?
No. I was referring to another Ben, not
Okay,
UPS.
thank you.
Sorry about that.
Moderator.
But it would be good if I can refer to the PS on first name basis. Probably when we get to the fourth engagement, then I can also confidently call Ben. But for now, I will still use Mr. Kumumanya.
Yes. Oh,
Moderator, we need some data refund.
All right, we've come to a close, so it's okay to log out. And we will, since we have your email contacts, we will send, I hope we'll be able to send a report to everyone that managed to join us for this conversation.
Thank you everybody. Bye. From Lira.
Hello, this is Lira. This is Lira.
Yeah, this is Patrick Abal in Lira saying goodbye. Thank you very much for a very engaging meeting.
Thank you, Patrick. I saw your hand was up. Apologies, we didn't have the time to take your question, but I hope you wrote it in the chat.
I was fidgeting out to wave down, and this is technology.
Ah, okay. I'm sure next time it will work much better. Oh, but I can see you actually did right. I can see it there.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, moderator, for organizing.
You are very welcome. Thank you for giving your time.
Should we expect some data refund?
That answer will come from someone who is not me. I think Ben Otto will respond to that.
Thank you.